What's up, homies? Welcome back to another breakdown from Disney Investor Day 2020. We're going to be focusing on all the Star Wars stuff. We did a whole video talking about Marvel. It was almost an hour long, just shy of an hour long, where we talked about everything that they announced, all 10 series and some of the movies, casting stuff. But right now, today, we're going to be focusing on Star Wars, and there's so much stuff. One movie was really announced, and the rest of it is all Disney Plus originals that are going to be coming to the Disney Plus platform over the next couple of years, upwards of 10 projects. I had heard rumors that they were going to be discussing a lot of Star Wars stuff and a lot of expansion of the Star Wars universe. I didn't realize how much expansion they were going to be doing about the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, it was surprising. Same with Marvel stuff too. I was honestly surprised that Investor Day became a Comic-Con. I'm like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That
It's a terrible title.
Oh boy.
That's the reason why I didn't really pay attention to this.
Sure.
That's the reason why it kind of caught me off guard, because I'm like, Investor Day, cool. They're going to talk about stocks. They're going to talk about subscribers. They're going to talk about all that stuff. And then they sneak 10 hours of footage of new things that we have to react to. It's crazy.
And outside of Marvel and Star Wars, like Disney proper and Pixar, they announced a ton of stuff as well.
Yeah, there's so much stuff.
But in terms of Star Wars, I think there were some announcements that some of us were anticipating, some of us were surprised by. Generally, like really good stuff. It made me really excited for the future of Star Wars. The first thing I want to talk about is Rangers of the New Republic. So this was announced alongside Ahsoka, which I don't think any of us are surprised that Ahsoka Tano's getting a spin-off series. I think it was very clear that Mandalorian was kind of a backdoor pilot for this thing. And then when you name drop Grand Admiral Thrawn, I'm almost looking at Ahsoka Tano, the series, as a spiritual successor to Star Wars Rebels. And the events that happened there. So when it comes to that, Rangers of the New Republic sounds like a really, really cool idea. It takes place within the timeline of The Mandalorian, likewise with Ahsoka, obviously. And I feel like characters that we met in Mandalorian, played by actors like Paul Sung-hyung Lee, are going to be the types of characters we will be exploring in Rangers of the New Republic.
Yeah, I'm into
which
that.
has me kind of excited.
Yeah. I'm into that.
Yeah, I think it's a really great idea. I think it was a sneaky way to throw in a backdoor pilot, that's for sure. I was talking to one of my friends recently who loves to, since we do YouTube, she loves to call me and refer to me and ask me questions about Star Wars. So we geeked out for an hour and a half talking about her experience, because she didn't start, she's a little bit older than me. She didn't start watching any Star Wars until a couple of years ago. And so she's fresh, and I love talking to her because she doesn't have the 40 years of baggage of fandom behind everything.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
No, it's really nice because she's so open-minded. And so we kind of talked about Ahsoka and her place in all of this. And so it's really interesting just to see somebody with just pure excitement for a character that they don't really know a lot about.
Yeah.
So seeing Ahsoka Tano get her own series is really freaking exciting to me, because it's a character with such a I think a pure heart, a pure fandom behind it that I think this is really exciting at this point. Because I believe she's the future of Star Wars. I believe a character like that is what they tried to make Rey be. It wasn't as successful, but Ahsoka Tano is that character who's like, she's not full on Jedi. She's
the
not
blueprint.
Full on Sith. She's
For
kind of like
a second,
the
when
future.
you said Raby, I was like, what character is Raby? I don't know who that is.
Raby
Raby DB? Is that a new droid?
Raby C5. Yeah.
Raby C5? No, I agree. I think she's an awesome character. And the Rangers of the New Republic, I'm like, is Dave Filoni going to be a cast member of that
like what's
show?
up with that?
Is it going to be Carson Teva and Dave
Right.
Filoni's character?
But the thing with Ahsoka, we touched on this briefly. We made a joke about it with Letitia Wright as Shuri when we were talking about the Marvel stuff. It just sucks that, and it's also the same with Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, with that actress and the comments and stuff that she's made online, except that she's like a new character and doesn't have the baggage.
Right.
So, with that character, it's like kind of, I can take it or leave it, but Ahsoka, I do care about that character, and it's a bummer that there still is this hanging sort of like, it's been sort of settled. She's come out and sort of and talked about it, and yet there's still like, there's some pretty pretty sad like allegations against Rosario Dawson and her
Yeah.
family, which is also makes her look bad. Some of it might not, she might not have anything to do with it, but it sucks because there's just the transphobia that is alleged, I should say for legal purposes.
Yeah.
It's a bummer, and she sort of made that an apology with where was she? Who was she talking to? Adam, what was it, like Vanity Fair? I can't remember what magazine, but a lot of people took it and they're like, great, good enough, and other people were like, well, it's how do you what kind of sort of apology tour can you go on?
Right.
Do you own up to everything and go, I got a lot of work to do, and Rosario Dawson pointed to the other like work that she's done in her life, uplifting LGBTQA voices, and it's like that's true too. She has done that. So it's this weird like, it's there, and I feel bad for I really just feel for the trans community because they care about this and they feel as though hey, we're bringing this up and not enough people are, or it seems to them like people don't care enough, so they're like, okay, that's a bummer for us, sort of a thing. So it sucks that that's there, and it sucks that that stuff like this, the cool pure fan stuff, can get ruined by real world sort of things that actors and stuff go through. And there's varying degrees to everything. This isn't the same as Johnny Depp. This isn't the same, all this other stuff, but it's all part of the same conversation of like, well, okay, an actor has a life, and then they get attached to a big Disney or whatever, and then they have to kind of navigate like, and Warner Brothers made their call. They're like, we're going to replace Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect that movie?
Right.
We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
Mads Mikkelsen's going to play him.
right. And it's like, are fans going to be upset, or like that kind of question of like, does it matter? Does it not matter? I'm not saying Rosario Dawson should be recast. I'm just saying like, I think she's a great actor, and I think she crushed the role. But I'm also like, but what how much is this going to get talked about, and how much is same with Letitia Wright. It's like, is anything going to happen? Or is she just somebody who, the actress who plays Cara Dune just posts dumb stuff about vaccines and voter fraud, and you're like, shut the hell up, man, come on.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm in terms of the series, I just hope that like things that have been teased or things that fans look, we know that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who are also making these two shows, they love fan service. And I don't have a problem with that, honestly, because they've done it so well this whole season of Mandalorian that if they were to dip into Star Wars Rebels territory and we start to see Ezra Bridger or Thrawn, maybe Hera, maybe some of the other characters who we know have survived Rebels, I'm pretty okay with it. So I'm excited for both of those shows. Rangers of the New Republic, we really didn't get a lot of context about.
Yeah.
But the concept, and I think with some of the characters that we've seen, like Carson Teva, if it's diving more into those types of characters, I would love to see more of that.
Well, that's also another conversation that I had with my friend, and this will go throughout the rest of our conversation, is that since she doesn't know the huge backstory, she's not attached to reveals like Ahsoka Tano or like the Darksaber, because there's a fine line that she said that if she was, because she's interested in learning more about the world, but her husband also had never watched Star Wars until a couple years ago as well. She has to explain these things to him, and she says that if I hadn't been there to explain what the Darksaber is, who Ahsoka Tano is, he would have bailed on the show a long time ago. So the conversation we were having is like, the writers, Filoni has to find a soft spot, like the perfect balance between writing for us, writing for her who's interested and wants to learn more, and writing about the people who are too busy to learn more, who just want a fun show to watch.
Yeah.
So that's a really tough area to write in, and I hope they keep that in mind with everything that they're creating from here on in the future.
Some stuff is more sort of new and original than other things. Other things are definitely attached to pre-existing characters and eras and stuff. So like when we get to it later, the one that takes place during the what's the new era called? Like 1,000 years before
The High Republic.
The High Republic, or 200 years before Phantom Menace or whatever. That stuff's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're saying, Augustine, brand new, fresh territory.
Yes.
But doesn't mean we still won't see like young Yoda and shit. Like it's
yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So what's next on the docket, Adam?
I cannot wait for that one. Then we got a sizzle reel from the show Andor, officially titled, which takes place prior to Rogue One. Cassian Andor is the main character. Diego Luna obviously returning. He's also, I believe, a producer on the project. And it was announced, and I cannot remember if this was announced prior to this investor call, that Genevieve O'Reilly was going to return as Mon Mothma. As we know, he has sort of a pre-established history with some of those characters. But I really liked Cassian Andor. He was an awesome character.
Yep.
I really like Rogue One. I like where that story took that character. And I always kind of have a immediate reaction to people when they say, like, well, what's the point of making this thing? We know where it ends. It's always about the journey.
Yep.
How did they get there? Who were they before we saw them on this mission?
The Star Wars, just want to point out, the Star Wars franchise made the word prequel a normal word. So don't come at me with, oh, we know what happens. Hey, let Cassian have a show.
Yeah.
Okay? If Agent Carter, she can get 2 seasons after her character was in World War II, in a time where nobody, like, we were never going to revisit that.
Yeah.
Let Cassian Andor have a show.
Let my boy have a show. Let me
That's-
chalk another
by
one
the
up
way,
for the Latinos.
That's
Come
2
on,
out
guys.
of 2 out of 3 so far, or for the Latinos right now. 2 out of 3.
Boom.
For the Latinx
boom,
community
boom.
was the representation we got. So doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
And I think the cool thing about the Cassian Andor show is that, you know, there is that 18 years roughly of history between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope that, yes, we've seen parts of it. You know, we've seen a little bit of it in Rebels, we've seen a little bit of it in Rogue One, we've seen a little bit of it in some of the books and comic books, but cinematically, TV-wise, streaming-wise, whatever term you want to use, we haven't really explored that too much. You know, Solo was another one.
Yeah.
And, you know, that movie, we got to see the return of Darth Maul, and unless you had been watching Clone Wars or following, you know, those shows, or Rebels, I should say, you didn't know why or how Darth Maul lived.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool when we take some of these time gaps and we can massage some stories in there that can sort of help bridge the gaps between some of these movies and stories. And I don't necessarily need a movie to fill in every single year chronologically of what's happened.
The comics
but I think
do
it's,
that.
Yeah, the comics do that, and I think it's really cool to have these like limited series that come in and they're like, you know, we're gonna do 10 episodes. It's gonna be X amount of years prior to A New Hope, and it's gonna be focused on this character and their revolving world. Which with Cassian Andor, you know, he's got the advantage that he does kind of directly tie into the rebellion that we come to know and love in A New Hope, and he kind of ties into Princess Leia as well in some ways because of his connections. But I'm just curious to see and explore more of his story leading right up to the events of Rogue One.
Yeah.
My number one ask is that Jabba the Hutt's in the show. That's all I want.
That
And
would be good.
and Cassian Andor must interact with Jabba. That's it. If they can pull that off and he can touch Jabba, the show is
Done.
perfect 10.
The show
It's
is
a
hit.
it's a win-win.
It's a
Perfect
win.
10. Come on.
The next show that they announced, which is a show that had been rumored for years. You know, we famously know that the actor playing this role had kept this a secret for many years. It was a movie, then it was a show, then it was finally announced at D23 last year that Ewan McGregor will be coming back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I didn't really know what to expect from this particular part of the panel because they hadn't shot anything yet. It doesn't start shooting until the beginning of next year. We know it's a limited series. It's about 10 episodes, I believe. The most confirmation that we got was that it's 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. So at that point, Luke will be a little bit older. He'll be about 10 years old, obviously. And the surprising thing, I think, for most people was we will get, as Kathleen Kennedy calls it, the rematch of the century with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. And Hayden Christensen will be coming back to play him, which I'm stoked about.
Yeah.
And
This is wild, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that for years people have talked about, well, when Obi-Wan and Darth Vader first fought on the Death Star, Vader technically tells him you should not have come back, which means that Obi-Wan was probably on the Death Star once before to try to defeat Anakin. Which I'm like, you're technically not wrong.
Sure.
You're technically correct. He did say that. I think for years we kind of just assumed like coming back into this person's life,
Yeah.
you know, to try to defeat them.
There's no context in coming back, you know?
But if we're going to take it in a super technical way, and we will get to see Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi face off with Hayden Christensen's Darth Vader, I'm kind of into it. I'm okay with it. Like, some people might say it's revisionist history. I'm like, you know what? I love Obi-Wan. I love Ewan McGregor. I would have loved to have seen more of Hayden Christensen in the Star Wars universe outside of the 2 movies he did. So, yeah, why not? Why not? There's really,
I
like,
agree.
nothing stopping us at this point.
I agree hardcore.
My main thing is I am a big fan of the comics. I already mentioned them once. Just to go back to Andor for a second, they have a comic book that shows us how Cassian Andor met K2SO. And I'm like, if you guys are going to have K2SO in the show, and I don't know if they are or if they announced that at all, but like, I'm like,
Alan
please-
Tudyk is coming back.
Okay, then I'm like, then if you're going to show us how they meet, don't contradict that comic book. Literally recreate it if you can, a moment or moments from it. And the same thing with comics. There's an awesome series called Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, I think, that takes place after Revenge of the Sith. And it's gnarly. And if this show doesn't contradict any of that, I'll also be a happy camper. Because that so far has been my favorite Darth Vader anything, is this little comic run. Because you get to spend time with the character right when he's fresh, right when he's freshly into the suit. And he's learning, he's like, maybe Palpatine is manipulating me. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting character for Darth Vader, not just an iconic image of Vader, but like, I'm into that, and I also remember that Hayden Christensen had to wear like lifts to get into the suit to get taller. Like,
Yeah.
Great, let's do that again. Let's do it.
Well, yeah, I think that really works. Darth Vader is a character I think that still has a lot that can still be told about him, because there's so much backstory in the comics, in Legends, and in canon. I think there's still a lot that can be said without kind of really digging into like what was his story outside of the Luke and Leia and Obi-Wan, storyline, because he's a conqueror of planets. Like, let's see some of that stuff. Like,
Yeah, and I
let's see
think-
him really wreck shit.
And I think by the time we meet him in A New Hope, and of course, this is because a lot of this was not necessarily perfectly planned. When we see him in A New Hope, he is kind of a lackey in that movie. And it's not until Empire Strikes Back that we really understand, like, oh, no, he is, like, second in command next to the Emperor.
Right.
And I think now that we have all that historical context about Darth Vader, and, Anakin Skywalker having an apprentice at some point in his career, I think it would be cool if we got to see Rosario Dawson play a younger
yeah.
Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and she's on this mission alongside Obi-Wan. I don't know if that'll happen. Maybe they'll probably put all the focus on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But listen,
as far as we know,
if they're setting it 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, like you said, you're gonna have a 10-year-old Luke. They'll probably cast a kid to play him. Luke,
yeah, because the show starts on Tatooine.
So that Obi-Wan can interact with Luke, or at least, like, I'll be in the desert. And then have a younger actor play that younger Ahsoka.
Yeah.
By how much younger would she be than she appears in Mandalorian? 7 years? How much? Like, she'd be 7 years younger than that, but she would still
no, it'd be more than that, because the gap from Obi-Wan to A New Hope is still 8
that's right.
years.
That's right.
So it'd be about 15 years younger.
Something like that. Okay, so Rosario could do it because she looks great, but I remember her being I remember Ahsoka being, she looks as a character younger in Clone Wars. At the end of Clone Wars, she looks grown up in Rebels, but still kind of, I don't know. They'll figure it out. Whatever.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
figure it out.
That'd
They'll
be cool.
figure it out.
That'd be cool. I'd be into that.
I'm just very excited that we're finally getting this, and it was going to be a movie and all that stuff, but I think the limited series works for it better because it allows us more time to more or less flesh out the story and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm also interested to see, what other characters outside of Darth Vader show, because if we're dipping into that territory, it is very possible that we will see Ian McDiarmid. It's very possible that we'll see, a digitally rendered version of Grand Moff Tarkin again. There's so many things that we could potentially see, but we'll find out. I'm just very excited to see Hayden Christensen coming back to play this role.
I agree. That's exciting. It's good to see that kind of rejuvenation. It's good to see him excited about this role as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really pumped for The Bad Batch. New animated series that's coming.
Yeah.
The Bad Batch were probably some of the coolest characters in Clone Wars. And the episode that they had in season 7, not only was it an amazing episode, that's probably one of the first times I've seen a one-shot done so incredibly well in animation. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing more of these characters' stories.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, like it's going to be a lot of fun. I thought the trailer looked really cool. I believe it was confirmed that the person in the trailer was Fennec Shan.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's pretty cool that we're going to get to see that connection to Mandalorian.
Absolutely.
These characters.
Is Ming-Na gonna voice her?
I don't know
would have to
100%.
imagine
I'd have to imagine
right?
it had to be Ming-Na
It's gotta
coming
be.
in to voice her. Come on.
Yeah.
You
gotta
gotta love that continuity.
At this point, there's no excuse.
Yeah, exactly. She's working on a live action show, season 1. for Favreau's involved, Dave Filoni's involved. Come on, that's right there. You
Yeah,
make that
it's right
connection.
there. Just bring her into the booth.
She loves that character, dude. I'm glad she was able to come back. So this is cool.
Yeah, and Bad Batch, there's such an amazing, it's just such a cool group of troops, and I think them having their own adventure and their own series, I'm not exactly sure how many episodes it's going to be, but, whatever the case may be, I was so impressed with Clone Wars and Rebels that having this spin-off show, I think, is a really, again, another fun way to expand the Star Wars universe. And, we'll see characters like Grand Moff Tarkin and stuff, so I'm just really into this idea and seeing more or less like where the story exactly picks up and where we kind of end up with these characters.
Is it going to be post Order 66? It is, right? So like they didn't, so they're, because they're all messed up, they didn't get brainwashed into killing Jedi. That's cool. They survived.
So pumped for it. The next project they announced, which was, I was not expecting this at all, called Star Wars Visions, and they describe it as an original series of animated short films that celebrate the Star Wars galaxy through the lens of the world's best Japanese anime creators. I've seen a lot of like fan works from the Star Wars universe that people put up on YouTube. They've done like fan intros for Star Wars and Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
It looks amazing. The fact that we're going to get that art style officially into the Star Wars universe is very, very, very exciting to me. And I just can't wait to see kind of like what this is going to be about. With all of these projects, unless we had heard about them before, we didn't really get a lot of context as to like what things they're going to touch on and what stories and what eras and all that sort of stuff. So whatever Star Wars Visions ends up being, I'm excited to implement a new style of animation, because I think we're all pretty used to Clone Wars and Rebels. They're slightly different styles, but they kind of feel like they're a little bit from the same family. Same thing with Resistance. I feel like Gendy's Clone Wars is the last time we had a really unique animated take on Star Wars.
Stylized,
super stylized. So the fact that we're gonna get this, I'm really pumped about.
I agree. Just one thing really quickly. Star Wars was based off samurai culture.
Yep.
So it's going to be beautiful to see all this stuff come back and be drawn maybe more faithfully. Who knows? Like, who knows what they're going to bring? But to see it kind of go closer back to the origins, beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm always into the idea of like international storytellers getting their hands on something like Star Wars, which is up to this point has been so American.
I agree.
That it feels like it's going to be a beautiful marriage. And what's cool is that it's coming out next year, 2021. We're probably getting Bad Batch next year also, because it said coming soon. Andor is 2022, and everything else is kind of up in the air. But this is going to be a nice surprise. I'm stoked about this.
I agree.
Yeah. Yep.
Same. Then they announced a show that's in the early stages of the development. They didn't confirm what era of the character this was going to be, but it's an event series based on Lando Calrissian. It's going to be written directed by Justin Simeon. The creator of Dear White People is currently attached to it. I actually heard a fun pitch that you could technically have both characters, both versions of Lando in it, and it would start with Billy D, and then it's him sort of like sharing or recapping stories from his youth, and then we could transition into Donald Glover, which I think would be a really, really fun way of telling those stories.
Yeah.
This would also be a cool... Remember that thing that we learned that like Billy D was talking to... what's the character's name in Rise of Skywalker? Janna? And it was like in the books or whatever, and some other thing, they revealed that like she's his daughter. And everyone was like, what the hell? How are you going to leave something like that out of a movie?
Yeah.
This could be a thing where you could actually resolve that, but then also bring back, I mean, come on, Donald Glover, childish. Because
You gotta.
when I saw this announcement, I went, great, cool. Instead of make Solo 2 happen, which would be cool, I don't need it. I just need Lando to come back. I just want to see Donald Glover play this character one more time, specifically from the mind of a black storyteller. We've had this conversation before. We've talked about like what we would have liked to have seen done in the Star Wars world. And just because it's Star Wars and, removed doesn't mean you can't have some stuff that is speaking about our world today. That's what Star Wars has always been. And so just like Cassian Andor being like, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. I'm like, they're talking about something. They're talking about something there.
Yep,
I
there's a
cannot
past.
wait to see how Lando how this show or event series is created. It's going to be really exciting.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to see either actor, whichever one they end up going with. I'll be super pumped to see more.
Hell, a brand
from
new
Lando.
actor, and neither of the two we know. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God, oh God. So the next project I think might be my most anticipated one, and that's saying a lot considering I'm really excited for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
A droid story. Tell us about
Get
it.
out of here. Get out of here. No, The Acolyte from Leslie Headland, who's the Emmy Award nominated creator of Russian Doll, is bringing a new series to Disney Plus. The Acolyte, they described it as a mystery thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. So again, this is really the first piece of cinema or television that we're getting out of this High Republic era, which, as we know, like you mentioned, Hector, is 200 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. Yoda, is a much younger Jedi. I'm really stoked about all the comic books and the books that are going to be coming very, very soon. I think some of them have started to come out, possibly. I'd have to look exactly. But I'm excited to... my biggest thing when it came time to do something new with Star Wars, I want to explore these eras that exist way outside of the Skywalker story, whether it's before or after. I think that's the exciting thing about the High Republic. Yes, you will see characters like Yoda. Yes, you might see some other characters, alien creatures that end up living, hundreds and hundreds of years in the Star Wars universe. But the fact that it's a mystery thriller that may or may not lean into heavily the dark side is fun and different. Yeah. So I can't wait for this. And the fact that it takes place in a different era of the Star Wars universe kind of opens up the floodgates to a ton of creativity.
Agreed. Yeah. I think it's a good move. I think it's something that we've been asking for, because the only way you can know about this stuff is if you're deep into the lore, if you've read Legends, if you've read comic books. I do like hours-long dives on YouTube just to try to find out history and, like before the Battle of Yavin, like everything that happened years and years and years before anything that we currently know of. I'm super interested in that kind of stuff. So this is, as much as I kind of have had my fill of the current, the original trilogy and everything like that, I feel like there's so much more surrounding these stories, even in the past, that can really, really expand the universe. So this is a really good move.
Yeah. I made a joke, but I really am looking forward to the next series, A Droid Story. I'm really excited about it because I feel like I'm the only person who watches all the extra stuff on Disney Plus, and there's a lot of great shorts and animated projects, and it's a beautiful home for animation. If y'all haven't been watching the new Mickey Mouse shorts, they're hysterical, dude. They are like so damn funny. So this is A Droid Story. Lucasfilm Animation is teaming with Industrial Light and Magic, which is really cool. A new hero is going to be guided by C-3PO and R2-D2. Probably be for kids. Probably in the same vein as I Am Groot. Right? And I'm stoked about it. And also, like, the droids have a history in animation. They had a whole series years and years ago, decades ago. So, like, this is great and right up my alley. And no, seriously, watch the new Mickey Mouse show, because I think the creative director on that is oh my God, what's his name? I think it's Paul Rudish, who has worked with Paul Rudish, who's worked with Genndy Tartakovsky for a long time, and this guy is hilarious. I mean, Cartoon Network, Symbionic Titan. What else has he done? He worked on Batman the Animated Series, Two Stupid Dogs, Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, Star Wars Clone Wars, like with Genndy. This guy is awesome and is now doing The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. Just a little plug for Mickey Mouse. Watch it. They're funny.
I love the new animation style that they have. Like the new look and the redesign of these characters.
Super fun. Super funny.
It touches very much on the old style, but it's very much fresh and new, which is really cool.
It's like Ren and Stimpy-ish. Anyway, Droid Story, it's going to be tight. That's the last series, right?
Yep.
That is the last announced Star Wars series.
That's a lot of stuff.
And because it was a Lucasfilm panel, they also talked about a couple of other projects, including a new indie movie, Willow, and a brand new original Children of Blood and Bone.
Yep.
But the one movie that they did end up talking about, which I was a little surprised because we've heard rumblings of a lot of other film projects from Star Wars, it was Rogue Squadron. and it's going to be directed by Patty Jenkins.
Yep.
Smart.
And they played a
Smart.
really fun sizzle reel where she talks about, sort of her history with aviation, how it ties back to her father, how it ties back to just her love of movies, and how that connected with Star Wars really made her excited to potentially direct something in the Star Wars universe. And now she's getting that opportunity. And I don't think there's a single soul in this universe that is not excited at the prospect of somebody like Patty Jenkins directing something in the Star Wars universe. I think that's something that we've all, whether or not we've said it out loud, we've all secretly wanted. So I'm super happy for her and I'm super excited for her.
Yeah.
And I know that what little info we got about Rogue Squadron is that it will be pulling from the comic books, the games, multiple parts of the Star Wars universe to kind of create a story that really represents what Rogue Squadron is. And I'm just really excited about whatever this original adventure ends up being and how it ties into other parts of Star Wars and even what era it takes place in. Whether it takes place in the OT, the sequels, or the prequels, it'll very likely sit somewhere in between episode 3 and episode 7, most likely.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of unexplored territory there. But whatever the case may be, I'm just really pumped to see Patty Jenkins in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
And-
me too. And I'm gonna let Patty Jenkins finish, but I'm really excited for Rian Johnson and Taika Waititi's not unannounced, but like they're
Untitled so far.
untitled
Yeah.
features, because those are the guys that I have not a personal attachment to, but I'm a big fan of all of their
Yeah.
work.
Likewise,
and it's gonna be real good for them to flex real hard.
Did you guys see the logo for the Taika Star Wars?
Yes, it looks like old
It's like-
70s Star
I love
Wars
it.
comics.
That
great.
Yeah, people were like, "This looks like it's on a Trapper Keeper." Like that looks so fun.
Yes, exactly.
And
I
nothing,
love it.
nothing was mentioned about the Rian Johnson movie or trilogy, but people made sure to double check. They're like, "Does that mean it's off of the table?" And apparently, it's still on the Star Wars website. So it's like it's still gonna happen potentially. I would really. It's already bad enough that like angry internet boys changed a little bit of the direction from Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker because of their angry internetness. That's already frustrating enough as it is, because I would have liked to have seen an embracing of what The Last Jedi was doing so that
Yeah.
it could have finished stronger.
Yeah.
But if Rian Johnson ends up getting cut because of angry internet boys, I'm going to be livid.
I don't think he will. Because
All right.
he is definitely standing up to them on the internet. He
Yeah.
has some pretty cutting remarks, like very subtle disses towards
great.
like the fandom that has been coming at him. And I think it's awesome because he really does not deserve any of the hate that he's been getting online.
No, but just because we said that just now, our video is going to be downvoted.
I
But
don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't care. I'm a Ryan Johnson stan all day.
Same. Knives Out is the shit.
Yep.
But back
It's so good.
to Patty Jenkins for a second. The closest I've come in Star Wars to like attaching myself to that idea of the pilots and stuff so far has been Poe and the stuff that Poe Dameron has done, which I think is super fun and super cool. But I remember growing up and having friends that were deep into Star Wars, and they loved the Rogue Squadron stuff. And I was always like, I can't really connect to that. I don't really know. But if Patty's coming in with the connections that you were talking about, Adam, her father being a pilot himself, like, and then she wants to, tell the best ever fighter pilot story in a movie, this thing could be something really special.
It
So
could be rad. It could
stoked.
be super rad.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little part of me that wishes we would have got a little bit more about Taika's Star Wars movie, but the logo itself, the way that it looked, made me super excited already.
so
And Kathleen
excited.
Kennedy obviously describing it as something very fun and unique and
Yeah.
very much in the flavor of Taika. I'm like, yeah, okay. I know more than likely I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for me too is I think we've gotten very used to a particular type of Star Wars with the OT, the PT, and the sequel trilogy. I'm excited about Taika coming in and Thoring the Star Wars universe and just bringing in a new
Thoring.
visual style, a new visual flavor, a new type of like language and dialogue in the Star Wars universe. And even if it means that it ends up taking place in, again, just like the High Republic stuff, a different era of time, I'm all about it. If this is set 100 years in the future, post the Skywalker saga,
Let's do it.
awesome. Let's
Let's
go.
do it.
Let's see what happens.
Yep.
Let's see what
Yeah.
happens.
I agree.
Because now, like, whatever events a story like that tells, it could help pave the runway for the next 100 years of in-world storytelling, which I think is exciting.
Yep.
Quickly about Rian Johnson, you talked about how that story still remains on the official website, and in in terms of other movies that had been previously announced, the Game of Thrones creators, their project has been removed from the official website.
Right.
So I think that
Right.
further kind of like confirms like we'll still
Yes.
get a Rian Johnson Star Wars thing. It may be a couple years, but it will happen. And you know, I'm not in a rush to see what he does. I'm more than happy to wait for it. You know, Star Wars has titles listed all the way, I believe, through 2028 or 2029. So we've got plenty of years of Star Wars coming. And they probably just didn't want to announce anything because I think they gave us more than enough. And this was mostly kind of focused, it was focused on Disney in general. Of course, they talked about a ton of movie stuff, but I think Disney Plus was a bit more of the thing they wanted to lean into.
Yeah, you're right.
I agree.
Because it's for the investors. They're trying to prove to the investors that Disney Plus is
It's
a
a
good
viable
investment.
platform.
Yup.
My stocks went up, so I guess I believe it.
Oh man, I don't have stocks.
Yeah, we should all get some
I have
stocks.
socks. Does that count? I have socks. not
Actually,
stocks?
I need to wash mine, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, but you know,
yeah.
I think in general, a lot of these projects sound really, really cool. I love the new info we got about some of these things, and I love that we got confirmation on some stuff that we were speculating about. And I love the fact that it seems like Star Wars, this post sequel trilogy era, you know, because we have creatives like Filoni and Favreau, but because we're also bringing in new creatives like Justin Simeon and, you know, Patty Jenkins, all this stuff, I think we're really paving a way for Star Wars for the future to really, really not depend on just the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Which I love. And I love those stories. I love, you know, the concept and the idea of what the Skywalker saga is and how it's a generational story. But I do think that we can do other really intriguing, enticing stories through things like Rogue Squadron, Taika Star Wars, focusing on like groups of characters. I think Jedi are cool. I don't think that Jedi are the only thing that make the Star Wars universe cool.
Agreed.
I want to echo something Augustine said and also something Diego Luna said. During the Cassian Andor scissor reel, he was like, Rogue One introduced, he goes in his beautiful Mexican accent, Rogue One introduced a new audience to the oldest fans. And I think he was talking about like Mexicans and brown people to the Star Wars world. And it's, you know, it's something that's beautiful about Rogue One is how browns, those beautiful brown men are in that film.
Agreed.
But there's not a whole lot of women in that movie. There's not, you know, so to go back to Augustine, Augustine has been telling us about his friend who's into Star Wars, but not that into Star Wars and how she's connecting to it. I'm hoping each one of these projects can bring a new person into the world and then they could get excited about it. That would be
agree.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really the goal, and I'm really looking forward to everything that's coming up because I feel like, to echo Adam, I feel like there's so much to tell that they're finally looking outside of the Star Wars saga and saying, all right, it's time to do this. Like, let's just go. You know, balls to the wall. Let's just go.
Yep.
Agreed. Guys, let us know in the comments below, what do you make about all these Star Wars projects? The ones that we already knew about that had more announcements, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, or some of the new stuff like Acolyte. I know a lot of people seem to be pretty hyped for that show, just simply based on the fact that it was a mystery thriller in the Star Wars universe. I think that's fresh and new, and that's the kind of stuff that I think a lot of people want to see. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about these projects, any other projects that you think or would like to maybe see in the future, and what era. And make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Got plenty more videos on the way talking about Mandalorian and other stuff. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
May the Force be with you.